The silent threat. The Galactic Dominion Council had witnessed 1,000 wars across 10,000 star systems. They had cataloged every known weapon, documented every battle tactic, and classified every species' approach to conflict. War, they believed, was a science they had mastered completely. Ambassador Krexnil stood before the vast assembly, his crystalline form catching the light from 100 different suns streaming through the transparent dome above. His 4 arms gestured with practiced precision as he addressed the gathered representatives. "Esteemed colleagues," he began, his voice resonating through translation matrices, "we face a situation that requires our immediate attention. The species known as humanity has expanded beyond their designated boundaries. They have established colonies in the Verizon Expanse, directly violating Treaty 447b. A murmur rippled through the assembly. The Verizon Expanse was resource-rich, unclaimed, and strategically vital. No single species was permitted to control it. High Commander Zortek of the Military Oversight Committee rose, his chitinous exoskeleton clicking with authority. Humans are a young species, barely 2 centuries into space travel. They possess no antimatter weapons, no quantum torpedoes, no dimensional shields. Their ships are primitive metal constructs powered by fusion reactors. Surely a simple show of force will suffice." The assembly agreed unanimously. Within hours, a fleet of 50 Dominion warships departed for the Verizon Expanse, each vessel a masterpiece of military engineering bristling with weapons that could crack moons and shields that could withstand supernovas. Admiral Vexmar commanded the flagship Infinite Supremacy, a vessel larger than most human cities. As they approached the human colonies, he transmitted the standard subjugation demands. "Human vessels, you are in violation of galactic law. Surrender immediately or face the consequences." The response came from a small mining station orbiting a gas giant. A human face appeared on the screen, weathered and calm. "This is Station Chief Martinez. We're just miners here, Admiral. We didn't know about any treaty. We'll need to contact Earth for instructions." Vexmar's tendrils writhed with amusement. "You have 1 standard hour." As the deadline approached, the Dominion fleet positioned itself for maximum intimidation. Their weapons powered up, creating a light show visible from the planet's surface. The human colonies seemed to panic, with ships scattering in all directions like frightened insects. "Pathetic," muttered Vexmarch, "prepare tow." "Admiral," interrupted the sensor operator, "we're detecting an anomaly." A single ship had appeared at the edge of the system. Unlike the blocky, utilitarian human vessels they'd observed, this one was different. Sleek and black, it seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. No visible weapons ports, no engine signatures, no electromagnetic emissions whatsoever. "Size?" demanded Vexmarch. "Unclear, sir. Our sensors can't get a proper reading. It appears to be shifting." The mysterious vessel hung motionless in space, making no aggressive moves, sending no communications. But something about it made Vexmar's scales itch with an unfamiliar sensation. "Hail them," he ordered. Silence. "Scan them." "Sir, our scans are being absorbed. The ship appears to be a sensor void. We can see it visually, but all our instruments show empty space." For the first time in his military career, Admiral Vexmar felt uncertain. The Dominion's entire military doctrine was based on understanding enemy capabilities. Weapons could be countered, shields could be overwhelmed, tactics could be predicted. But this was an unknown. "Send the Blade of Judgment to investigate," he commanded. The destroyer moved forward, its crew confident in their superior firepower. As they approached the mysterious ship, their captain reported increasingly strange readings. "Admiral, the ship appears to be changing. Not physically, but it's hard to explain. Our targeting computers can't maintain a lock. It's as if the ship exists in multiple quantum states simultaneously." "Impossible," Vexmar scoffed. "Fire a warning shot." The destroyer's plasma cannon erupted, sending a bolt of superheated energy past the human vessel. The shot should have been impossible to ignore, a clear demonstration of Dominion superiority. The black ship didn't react. It simply continued to hang in space, silent and motionless. "Sir," the destroyer's captain's voice had changed, carrying an edge of something unheard of in the Dominion fleet. Fear. "Sir, our systems are malfunctioning." "No, wait. They're not malfunctioning. They're showing us things, impossible things." "Explain yourself, Captain." "I'm seeing our ship, sir, but I'm seeing it destroyed. Multiple versions of our destruction, all happening simultaneously. It's as if the ship is showing us every possible future where we engage it." The bridge of the infinite supremacy fell silent. In all their years of warfare, the Dominion had never encountered psychological warfare on this level. "Admiral," whispered the communications officer, "I'm receiving a transmission. Not through our comm systems. It's appearing directly in our central computer." "Play it," Vexmar ordered, though his voice lacked its usual confidence. A simple text message appeared on every screen in the fleet simultaneously. "This is the Earth ship Nevermore. You have threatened human civilians. You have 1 standard hour to withdraw." Vexmar's initial fear transformed into rage. One ship dares to threaten the entire Dominion fleet. All vessels, prepare for coordinated attack. But as the fleet moved into attack formation, more reports flooded in. Crew members across multiple ships reported experiencing vivid hallucinations. Some saw themselves dying in horrible ways. Others witnessed their homeworlds burning. A few claimed to see alternate versions of themselves, warning them to flee. "It's a trick," Vexmar roared. "Some form of holographic projection. Maintain formation." The science officer approached hesitantly. "Sir, our analysis suggests this isn't a projection. The human vessel appears to be manipulating quantum probability fields, creating localized reality distortions. It's showing us potential futures, all of them involving our defeat." "Nonsense. Reality cannot be manipulated in such a way." But even as he spoke, Vexmar noticed his bridge crew growing increasingly agitated. Some were backing away from their stations. Others were whispering prayers to deities the Dominion had officially abandoned centuries ago. "Admiral," the tactical officer's voice trembled. "The human ship is moving." The Nevermore had begun a slow advance toward the Dominion fleet. It moved unlike any vessel they had encountered, seeming to skip between positions rather than travel through space normally. One moment it was distant, the next it was closer, with no transition between states. "Fire!" Vexmar screamed. "All weapons, fire!" The space around the Nevermore erupted in a spectacular display of destructive energy. Plasma bolts, antimatter torpedoes, quantum disruptors, the combined firepower of 50 warships focused on a single target. When the light faded, the Nevermore remained, not just intact, but completely untouched. The weapons fire had simply ceased to exist upon reaching the ship. "How?" Vexmar whispered. The answer came not through communications, but through direct neural interface. Every member of the Dominion fleet heard the voice simultaneously, calm and patient. "You believe you understand war. You measure strength in weapons and shields, in the ability to destroy. But humanity learned something different during our darkest hours. True warfare isn't about destruction. It's about fear. It's about making your enemy defeat themselves. This ship doesn't need weapons, Admiral. It is one." The Nevermore continued its approach, and with each kilometer, the Dominion's sophisticated technology began to fail. Not through any attack, but through the crew's growing terror. Soldiers abandoned their posts. Officers refused orders. The most elite military force in the galaxy was falling apart without a single shot being fired. As his bridge descended into chaos, Admiral Vexmar finally understood. The humans hadn't built a warship. They had built something far more terrifying. A vessel that turned the enemy's own minds against them, that made them face every fear, every doubt, every possible defeat simultaneously. The mighty Dominion fleet, undefeated in 10,000 battles, began to retreat in complete disorder, pursued by a single black ship that had never fired a weapon. The age of conventional warfare in the galaxy had just ended. The revelation of terror. The emergency session of the Galactic Dominion Council convened in an atmosphere of barely controlled panic. Admiral Vexmar stood before the assembly, his once proud bearing replaced by something the Dominion hadn't seen in their military leadership for millennia: humility born of fear. "Explain yourself, Admiral," demanded High Commander Zortek. 50 of our finest warships fled from a single human vessel. This is unprecedented." Vexmar's scales had dulled to a sickly gray. "High Commander, with respect, you weren't there. This wasn't a battle. It was something else entirely." "Elaborate," ordered Ambassador Krexnil, though his crystalline form flickered with nervousness. The Admiral activated the holographic display, showing tactical recordings from the encounter. The human vessel, designated Nevermore, employed no conventional weapons, no shields, no visible propulsion system. Yet it proved invulnerable to our entire arsenal. "Impossible," scoffed Defense Minister Tralvik. "There must be some technology we're not detecting." "There is," Vexmar agreed, surprising everyone. "But not the kind we're familiar with. Our science teams have analyzed the data. The Nevermore appears to manipulate quantum consciousness fields." A stunned silence fell over the assembly. The concept was theoretical at best, considered fringe science by most civilized species. "Are you suggesting," asked Chief Scientist Cormac slowly, "that the humans have achieved consciousness reality interface technology?" "Not just achieved it," Vexmar replied. "They've weaponized it. The Nevermore doesn't destroy ships. It destroys minds. It makes every crew member experience their worst fears, their deepest doubts, every possible version of their defeat simultaneously." The implications hung heavy in the air. Traditional warfare was based on physical superiority: bigger guns, stronger shields, faster ships. If the humans had truly developed weapons that targeted consciousness itself, every military doctrine in the galaxy was obsolete. "We need more information," declared Krexnil. "Could this be an isolated prototype?" A new voice interrupted the discussion. The central communication array activated, displaying a human face. But this wasn't the weathered miner from before. This was someone in a crisp military uniform, eyes carrying the weight of terrible knowledge. "Greetings, Galactic Dominion Council. I am Admiral Sarah Chen of Earth's Deep Space Command. I believe we need to talk." "You dare contact us directly?" Zortek bristled. "After your unprovoked aggression." Admiral Chen's expression didn't change. "Our records show your fleet threatened civilian mining operations. The Nevermore responded according to our defense protocols. No Dominion lives were lost. Can you say the same about your past military actions?" The accusation stung because it was true. The Dominion had built their empire through superior firepower, crushing any resistance without mercy. "What do you want, human?" Krexnil asked carefully. "Understanding," Chen replied. "The Nevermore represents humanity's approach to warfare. We call it the Ghost Protocol. When we first reached the stars, we realized we couldn't compete with established powers in traditional combat. So we chose a different path." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Every human ship in deep space carries Ghost Protocol capabilities to varying degrees. The Nevermore is simply our most advanced implementation." "You're bluffing," accused Zortek. "One prototype doesn't constitute a fleet." Chen's smile was sad rather than triumphant. "Would you like to test that theory, High Commander? We have 17 vessels currently operating under Ghost Protocol within Dominion space. They've been there for months. You never detected them because they exist in a state of quantum uncertainty until activated." The Council erupted in alarmed chatter. If true, human ships could be anywhere, undetectable until they chose to reveal themselves. Why tell us this? Vexmar asked, genuine curiosity overcoming his fear. Because, Chen replied, humanity doesn't want war. We've seen enough of it on our homeworld. The Ghost Protocol exists as a deterrent, not a tool of conquest. We developed it after studying your history, Admiral. The Dominion has never lost a conventional battle, so we made conventional battle obsolete. You expect us to simply accept human expansion? Krexnil challenged. No, Chen shook her head. We expect negotiation. Actual diplomacy. The Verizon Expanse has resources enough for many species. We're willing to share, to establish joint colonies, to contribute to galactic civilization. But we won't be bullied or threatened. She leaned forward, her image filling the screens. The Ghost Protocol taught us something profound. True strength isn't about the ability to destroy your enemies. It's about making them question everything they thought they knew about conflict itself. Your own minds become the battlefield. And if we refuse your terms, Zortek asked, though his bravado was clearly forced. Then you face a choice, Chen replied. Continue with traditional warfare against an enemy you can't see, can't target, and can't defeat, or evolve beyond the concept that might makes right. The transmission ended, leaving the council in contemplative silence. Finally, Ambassador Krexnil spoke. We've encountered something that challenges our fundamental understanding of power. The humans haven't just developed a new weapon. They've changed the nature of warfare itself. In the weeks that followed, reports flooded in from across Dominion space. Military commanders described strange phenomena. Crews refusing to fire on human vessels, claiming they could see the futility of their actions. Navigation systems that worked perfectly until approaching human colonies, then showed nothing but endless void. Communication arrays that broadcast the doubts and fears of their operators instead of military commands. The Dominion's vast military machine, built over millennia, ground to a halt not through defeat, but through uncertainty. Every soldier, every commander, every strategist found themselves questioning not just their orders, but the very concept of military supremacy. The breaking point came when the pride of the Dominion fleet, the absolute dominator, encountered a human cargo vessel in disputed space. The captain ordered an attack, but his crew mutinied, not through violence, but through a collective realization that had somehow emerged from nowhere, or perhaps from the quantum field manipulations of unseen Ghost Protocol ships. Why? The captain had demanded. Why won't you follow orders? His weapons officer had turned to him with eyes full of an understanding that seemed to come from beyond himself. Because, sir, I've seen what happens, not just if we fire, but why we fire. The fear, the need to control, the desperate clinging to power. The humans aren't our enemy. Our own nature is. The Galactic Dominion Council reconvened one final time to address the human situation. The vote was unanimous, not because they were defeated, but because they finally understood what humanity offered wasn't subjugation, but evolution. The treaty signed with Earth was unlike any in galactic history. It didn't divide territory or establish hierarchies. Instead, it acknowledged a fundamental truth. The age of violence-based civilization was ending. The Ghost Protocol had changed the galaxy not through fear, but through forced self-reflection. Admiral Vexmar, now serving as military liaison to the human sectors, stood on the observation deck of the Joint Human-Dominion Station orbiting the Verizon Expanse. Beside him stood Captain Martinez, the mining chief who had made first contact. I still don't fully understand, Vexmar admitted. How does the Ghost Protocol actually work? Martinez smiled, the same weathered face that had once projected calm in the face of overwhelming force. That's the beauty of it, Admiral. Half of it is advanced quantum technology. The other half, pure psychology. The knowledge that it exists is almost as powerful as the technology itself. So the visions, the fears we experienced. Some were generated by our quantum field manipulators. Others, Your own minds filled in the blanks. The Ghost Protocol works because sapient beings are very good at defeating themselves when given the right push. Vexmar considered this, and now that we know, now that you know, you can't unknown it. Every military action, every threat of force, comes with the understanding that violence might not be the answer. That there might be something worse than defeat, the complete irrelevance of your entire worldview. In the years that followed, humanity's Ghost Protocol became legendary throughout the galaxy. Not as a weapon of war, but as the tool that ended war as the primary means of interstellar relations. Species after species found themselves questioning their reliance on military might when faced with an enemy that turned their own consciousness against them. The Nevermore itself became a symbol, rarely seen but always present in the minds of those who would resort to violence. Its mere existence served as a reminder that humanity had changed the rules of the game entirely. Some called it humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy, the forced evolution beyond primitive warfare. Others saw it as their most terrifying creation, a weapon that made traditional weapons obsolete. But for humanity, it was something simpler, survival through understanding. They had looked at a galaxy ruled by force and asked a different question. Not how can we build bigger weapons, but how can we make weapons irrelevant? The answer had changed everything. In the deep void between stars, ships painted in light-absorbing black continued their silent patrols. The Ghost Protocol fleet grew, not in numbers, but in legend. No one knew how many there were. Some claimed to have seen them, shadows against the starfield. Others insisted they were purely psychological, that the fear itself was the weapon. The truth, as humanity knew, lay somewhere in between. The most effective weapon, they had learned, was the one that existed as much in the mind as in reality. The one that made every potential aggressor ask themselves, what if we're wrong about everything? In the deep void between stars, ships painted in light-absorbing black continued their silent patrols. The Ghost Protocol fleet grew, not in numbers, but in legend. No one knew how many there were. Some claimed to have seen them, shadows against the starfield. Others insisted they were purely psychological, that the fear itself was the weapon. The truth, as humanity knew, lay somewhere in between. The most effective weapon, they had learned, was the one that existed as much in the mind as in reality. The one that made every potential aggressor ask themselves, what if we're wrong about everything? In this new age, the answer to that question was more powerful than any armada. The galaxy had believed it understood war until humanity arrived. Now it was learning to understand peace, or face the terrible truth within their own minds that the Ghost Protocol would reveal. As Ambassador Krexnil noted in his final official report, humanity's greatest military innovation wasn't a weapon that could destroy worlds. It was a mirror that showed us ourselves. And that, perhaps, was the most terrifying weapon of all. The age of the Ghost Protocol had begun, and with it, a new chapter in galactic civilization, one where the battlefield existed not in space, but in consciousness itself, and in that realm, humanity had proven to be the undisputed masters.